This is Ben Ramsdale, President of Liverpool Hope Students' Union and the Elections Coordinator for this year's Student Officer elections at Liverpool Hope. We're doing here a video version of the information session called So You Want to Run that we've been doing, and this is aimed at anybody who's thinking about running in our elections. Obviously some of the more interactive sessions won't quite work on this video, but we shall do our best. So here we go. So what we're going to cover in this video is a little bit about why Hope holds elections and some basic information about the Students' Union, some more detail about the positions that you can stand for, some of the skills that we think that you need to be a sabbatical officer at Hope, and also the help that we'll give you to develop those skills, some tips on writing a good manifesto, and some data and information we think will be useful about the issue facing students at Hope right now. Now obviously we can't have a chance to ask questions in a video, but I will give you some details at the end of how you can contact us to ask any questions about the elections. We'll skip very quickly past the icebreaker, as this is a video version of the session. So what is Hope SU and why do we hold elections? So Liverpool Hope is the representative body of every student here at Liverpool Hope University, and every student is automatically a member of the union. We represent our students at every level of the institution, as well as to local and national government, to the National Union of Students and various other external organisations. As well as that, we give individual support and advice to students, particularly on academic and welfare matters. And we provide a lot of opportunities for students to enhance their student life through clubs, societies, trips and events. So that's a little bit of very basic information about the Students' Union, and now a little bit more about the elections. So we are led by students here at Liverpool Hope, and we want to make sure that all students have the chance to shape our work, and for that purpose we have our forums where every student gets a vote on our policy, with various committees and chances to run to be officers. And the major elected positions that are available here are the sabbatical officers. So under the Education Act, election to these offices has to be by a ballot of all our members. And sabbatical officers can serve up to 2 years, but we hold elections every single year. And according to our constitution and our standing orders, the elections take place earlier in the year for the SABs to take office on the 1st of July. So let's have some information about how the elections are going to be run this year. This will be the Elections Committee who run the elections. So the returning officer is a member of staff at NUS, and so he's obviously entirely unbiased and independent from the organisation. Emma Powell is the sort of named returning officer for every union, but in practice Joe Goodman, who's our NUS point of contact at Hope, will be acting as the returning officer. Now her job is ultimately the validity and security of the ballot, making sure it's a fair vote where every student gets a chance to have their say. She will also be the final authority on complaints, any rulings and the procedures of the election, and she'll come to verify our results on Friday the 21st of March. Caroline Bates, who is the Union Development Manager here at Liverpool Hope, our most senior staff member, is going to be the Deputy Returning Officer. So she'll be the first point of contact for all student or candidate complaints or issues. She'll make any initial rulings and decisions, be responsible for the conduct of all the election staff, including people staffing ballot boxes, and she will manage the online ballot, and she's responsible directly to the returning officer. And the final member of the elections committee is myself, Ben Ramsdale. I'm the elections coordinator, and my job is really about encouraging lots of engagement in the election and trying to get a really high voter turnout. We're organising various events and trainings, including the hustings we're going to be holding, which is a chance for students to hear what the candidates have to say and ask them questions. And also Hope will be hosting the results night for the 3 students' unions in the city. That's us at Hope, the Liverpool Guild, which is the students' union for the University of Liverpool, and Liverpool SU, which is the SU for John Moores. So it's going to be a really great night over at the Creative Campus. Another part of my job is to generally support Caroline, our Union Development Manager, in coordinating the operational side of the election, and also keep an eye on you guys as candidates, making sure you're looking after yourselves. And it's important to note that my role will not take on any of the Deputy Returning Officer responsibilities, and I won't have any say in the actual democratic rulings of the election. My focus is entirely on making it a big and fun experience for students. Moving on, So, what positions can you stand for in this election? There are 4 positions available. There are 3 Sabbatical Officer positions, which are the President, the Vice President Education, and the Vice President Welfare and Community, as well as 1 NUS Delegate. Let's hear some more about the Sabbatical Officers. So, Sabbatical Officers are full-time paid staff members of the union, and if you win, you will get a salary of £17,500 for the year. You'll also be a trustee of the Students' Union, which is a registered charity, and a member of the Executive Council. The trustees are the sort of ultimate governing body of the union who oversee it from a strategic and legal and financial point of view. The Executive Council is the emergency decision-making democratic body of the union, which works between our forums. Sabbatical officers are led and held to account by a forum, which is our open general meetings for students. Sabbatical officers run campaigns and events and projects to further the needs of students at Hope. And sabbatical officers also attend various university committees where it is appropriate. So let's have a look a bit more into their roles. The President of the Students' Union is the primary representative of students and is the lead political voice of the union. They oversee the democratic running of the union itself, making sure that we're making decisions in a way that is fair and democratic and in line with our constitution and bylaws. They also oversee clubs and societies, that's all our sports teams and student groups. They implement the policy of the Hope in the Union Forum. They're our lead contact with NUS, and they also chair the trustee board. As well as that, they're a member of the university's governing council, which also makes them a trustee of the university. They also sit on various other university committees, including Senate, and they're in charge of liaising with the press and generally our public relations. The next position is the Vice President Education, who is the lead voice of students on all academic matters. So they're there to lobby the university on everything to do with students' education, learning, teaching, the resources that are available, and any academic issues. They also support students with academic matters, including when students face academic appeals. They oversee the course representative system. They implement the policy of the Hope in the University Forum. They're the lead contact with the NUS on academic matters and sit on a number of different academic committees for the university. And the final sabbatical position is the Vice President Welfare and Community, who is the lead voice of students on welfare matters. They're also responsible for the students and the Students' Union's relationship with our local community and various organisations in the community. They support students directly on welfare matters, including students facing disciplinary appeals. They're the main point of contact for our liberation officers. They implement the policy of the Hope in the Community Forum and are our lead contact with NUS on any welfare or community matters. They sit on a number of welfare committees in the university, such as Equality and Diversity and the Sustainability Committee, as they also deal with ethical and environmental issues, and also sit on some external committees, including that of Liverpool Student Homes and the City Council's Liverpool City Safe Board. So that's our sabbatical officers. The other position that's available is an NUS Delegate. So NUS Delegates are our representatives on behalf of students to the Conference of the National Union of Students, which this year will take place between the 8th and 10th of April here in our very own city of Liverpool. So they'll represent the voice of Hope students to the National Union of Students. They'll have a vote to elect members of the NUS Executive, including our National President, Vice Presidents, and the block of 15 members to the NUS Executive Council. They will also vote on lots of motions to become the policy of NUS, so it's a really important role, but it's one which does only require a few days' commitment, so it's really something that's worth having a go at. So, what skills do we feel that you need to be a sabbatical officer here at Hope? Well, organisation's a big part of the role. No 2 days are the same in this job, and it's really important that you can balance responsibilities to make sure that you're focusing on what's important for students and for our union. Decision making is a huge part of the role. Although we make our big policy decisions at forums and councils, the day-to-day decisions and policy decisions and practical decisions of the union are made by the sabbatical officers, either as individuals or as a team. So it's important that you can weigh up possibilities and make a decision and see that decision through. Obviously, it's very important that you understand students here at Hope and their priorities, and that you have confidence. Now, when we talk about confidence, that doesn't mean being sort of loud and liking to perform. It means that you're genuinely yourself. There's lots of different types of confidence, but being genuine and being approachable to students, that's the kind of confidence we're looking for in a sabbatical officer. Finally, it's really important that you're able to build working relationships. You'll have to build relationships within the union, with staff members in the university, including the very senior management, with external companies, other unions, and of course with students and our volunteers. And balancing those relationships and making sure that you're working together for the best interests of the union and the students is a really important part of the job. But we don't need to think that we're going to leave you alone to worry about that. We're going to help you with that. So we'll help you to develop lots of skills, and if you're successful and get elected, we're going to send you on quite a lot of training courses. You'll spend quite a lot of your summer away on various courses, most of which are run by NUS, who have been training sabbatical officers for a very, very long time and have developed some fantastic programs. So there'll be some specialist training depending on what role you get, as well as some general training on leadership and running unions and understanding your role. As well as that, myself and the two vice presidents will be sticking around for the first couple of weeks in July to give you an induction and a handover and make sure that you benefit from the experience that we've had in the past, well, it will have been 2 years by then. And throughout your time as a sabbatical officer, you'll get consistent support from the student union staff, from the trustees of the union. The external trustees especially are a great source of wisdom and support. NUS are invaluable as an organisation, and they're only ever a phone call away, and to be honest, any problem that comes up pretty much in a university they've seen before, and they can give you support and guidance with that. And finally, probably the best support network you'll have really is other sabbatical officers in other unions. You'll get to know each other at training over the summer, and you'll come to be a great support network to each other. After all, this is quite a unique job, and you'll find that they're the only other people who know exactly what you're experiencing, so they're a great support network. Now the next one is actually a task we did where we looked at a number of manifestos, and we sort of looked at what made them good and bad, but we'll move straight on to some tips about a good manifesto. It's important to identify issues that resonate with students and use evidence to back those issues up. And with those issues, you should try and inject a sense of injustice. Try and get students angry about what's happening. Get them to care about the issues that you're trying to get them to back you on. And then you can offer a solution or some actions to make change and to make a positive contribution to that situation. And make it clear why you're the person to solve it. Why are you the best person? What experience, what passion, what knowledge do you have that makes you the best person to fight for this cause? Make your manifesto catchy, maybe use some slogans which sum up who you are and what you believe in. And try and capture a feeling on campus, and there's certainly no homogenous experience of students, that's certainly true, but try to see if you can find things which will really resonate and be relevant to every student. Make sure your manifesto is easily understood. Don't use lots of jargon and lots of acronyms. Make sure that every student can understand what you're trying to say. And there's probably going to be quite a few candidates, so make sure your manifesto stands out. And I'm not just talking in terms of its design. Make sure what you're saying is special and really speaks to students. And finally, as is true really with any kind of writing, make sure it's relevant to your audience, and that is all the students here at Hope. So here's some information which should actually be really helpful to you when you're forming your manifesto, which is various bits of information about our students from various sources. So I'll take you through that now. The first, this is some very basic demographic information about our students at Hope, taken from the latest information on the university's website. So there are currently 6,756 students at Hope. 63% of those students are undergraduates, that's sort of BA or BSc level. 10% are postgraduate taught, that's broadly means masters. 2% are postgraduate research, that's doctorate level students. 8% are studying a postgraduate certificate of education, that's postgraduate teacher training. 0.5% of our students are studying a foundation degree, that's sort of a pre-undergraduate level, usually leading on to a BA or BSc. 16.5% according to the website or other, and I'm not 100% sure what that means, but we do offer a number of professional courses, postgraduate certificates and diplomas and various other courses. So quite a lot of people don't fit into the main categories. So how will you reach out to a varied body of types of studiers? 68% of our students are women and 32% are men. We are actually one of the most women campuses in the country. One of the largest amounts of women. 90% of our students are white, 4% Asian, 3% black, 2% of mixed heritage and 1% other or unknown. So that's the makeup of the students racially. 11% of our students consider themselves to have a disability and 89% do not. And that's the most we have in demographic information. The university don't publish sort of things around sort of LGBT and other issues like that. So there's a variety of information there about our students. Now, this data is a little bit out of date. It was taken in a student survey in 2012, but I pulled out a couple of bits of information which I think are still relevant, and I wouldn't imagine are too different today. So we asked students, how important do you think it is that students are able to shape and influence their university experience? And if you look at the two sort of greeny coloured bars there, which as you can see from the key mean important and very important, there's 61 and 22%, which together is 83%. So 83% of our students think it's important or very important for them to shape and influence their university experience. That's a vast majority. However, if you look at the second graph below there, you'll see that only 28% of our students think that they do shape and influence their university experience. The rest of them obviously don't feel that able to do so. And that's something that's, I think, really worrying and something we've worked on in the past 2 years, and something you need to say, how are you going to make this better in your time in office? Here's another really interesting one which talks about why students apply to university, and it's not entirely surprising that the main two reasons you'll see on the left hand side of the graph there, both over 90%, are to gain a qualification and to improve chances of getting a job. And it's not surprising, and certainly there's an argument for education for its own sake and the public value of education. That's very important, but don't forget that most of our students are here to improve their chances of getting a good job, and that's a really important motivator, and it's something that you should be talking about in your campaign. The next ones are to pursue an interest in a subject and to improve their earning potential. After that comes having new experiences and meeting new people, and finally moving away from home. So there's some themes there. You've got gaining qualifications and pursuing an interest in the subject quite high, improving chance of getting a job, and earning potential quite high, which are related. And then third to that is new experiences and new people. So they're the three main motivators for students coming to university, and really it's the Students' Union's job to make sure that they get that experience. So how are you going to make that happen? Consider that when writing your manifesto. The next piece of data is from the National Student Survey, the most recent one, which was taken in 2013. Now, the National Student Survey is a satisfaction survey which is taken by every final year student in the university to give an idea to potential applicants how satisfied they were with various elements of their experience at Hope. I've taken out some of the top figures here. So students at Hope said that they were 85% satisfied with teaching on their course, 75% said they were satisfied with the assessment and feedback, 78% with academic support. A slightly lower one here, which is only 68%, were satisfied with the organisation and management of the university and their course. So that might be something to tap into, particularly for those of you looking at VP education. Both on 81% are the learning resources and personal development, and the overall score for the university was 82%, which isn't bad, but certainly could be better. So what will you do about that? Now, very importantly, there's been a new question added in the last couple of years, which is about the satisfaction students have with the Students' Union. The first year this question was asked, we at Hope received 43%, which was rather a bad score, and put us in the bottom 10 in the country. Now, we're very pleased that a year later we managed to add 10% onto that score, which is a significant increase to 53%, putting us only 2% behind the Liverpool Guild of Students and only 5% behind Liverpool John Moores. However, it's still not a very good score and something that needs to be improved. So what will you do to improve student satisfaction in the Students' Union? The final bits of data I want to show you are the most recent, and they're from some student surveys that I've been doing this year to do with campaigns, but I think there's some interesting bits of data in here that might be useful to you. So this is from the survey I've been doing around my student activities development plan, which is focused on sports and societies but has lots of interesting data. So the first one tells us a little bit about the activities students are taking up in the Students' Union, and straight away you'll see that over 40% of our students say that they are not involved in any of these activities. Second to that, just over 20%, maybe about 25%, is volunteering, possibly in the local community or other groups. One way to look at this might be that we do have a lot of students of faith in the university, and certainly the university outreaches into lots of faith schools. So I imagine a lot of those will be people volunteering in their churches and other places of worship. Next after that, almost exactly the same amount, are our sports clubs and teams and course-related societies. That's things like the Disability Studies Society, the Biology Society, the Music Society, etc. Coming after that, again fairly even, are those who are involved as course reps in the union, and those who are part of fun and special interest societies like the Nerd Society and cheerleading and things like that. After that, fairly low are things like student fundraising, student media, and union democratic representation, which includes those who are elected as volunteers and those who attend forums and things like that. So that's a number that could certainly be higher if we want to be a democratic union. So what will you do about that? The next one lists the importance to students of the services offered by the Students' Union, and it's really important to note, as you'll see at the bottom, this graph is inverse. Basically the answers to this question were entered the wrong way round, and so the level of importance has been inverse. So if you start at the top there with the yellow where it says advice service, that's the one that students ranked as the most important, going right down to the bottom to campaigns, which they said was the least important. So let's have a look at this. So our advice service and the opportunity to volunteer and the events we run are the top three things students said were important to them that the union does. The next three, and sort of in the middle, are course reps, societies, and student fundraising. So that's something to think about. And then down at the bottom are three things which currently students don't feel is important, but I hope we would all agree are very important. Firstly, our democracy, which is crucial to the union, our sports clubs, which are an important part of what we offer, and campaigns, which after all is one of the main reasons we exist, to campaign and make change for students. So I don't think it's that these things aren't important and we should ignore them, but that they currently aren't, we aren't doing them in a way in which students feel they're important. So how will you improve those things to make them more important to students? Next question asks students to tell us the extent to which they value the following kinds of support if we were to offer it. And once again, this graph is inverse, so the one at the top with the lowest bar is the most important, and vice versa down the bottom there. So financial support is the most important, followed by staff support, which I'm not entirely sure what students mean by that. Then learning support is very important for those of you, again, running for VP Education. Next comes skill development, support providing resources, and training support. I think a lot of these are maybe focused around our clubs and societies. Mentoring, perhaps that's for personal development purposes. Support providing space, that will be to do with our sports and societies, as will professional coaching support, and of course fundraising for groups and societies. Next is what students said are the main issues facing them at Liverpool Hope, and this graph is actually back to being correct. So the one at the bottom there with the longest yellow bar there is the most important, and almost equal there at the top, unsurprisingly in a way, are financial problems and future employment, quickly followed there by the cost of living. And that's not surprising at all, that right now students are most concerned not actually about tuition fees, as some people might think, but about the money that's actually in their pockets right now, and whether they're going to be able to get a job after they leave university. And those come, as you can see, even before academic success. So that's something that you should really be talking about in your manifestos and when you're putting your campaigns together. Followed by that is lack of time and fear of failure and doing well in life. Interestingly, you see up the top there, the lowest one, the one that the fewest students said was important to them, was crime and safety. However, do think about these kind of graphs intelligently. It might be that only a few students are facing issues of crime and safety, but I would imagine that those issues would be pretty serious. So, and that's been borne out recently by surveys showing that there are high levels of sexual assault against women, young women in our city. A lot of them will be students, and that's obviously a very serious issue. So there's some things you could be talking about, particularly there for you potential VP welfare in communities. I think the final one in this particular series of data is about what students give their time to outside of university and student union activities, and not at all surprisingly, the top two by a very long way are socialising and relaxing, and obviously that's an important part of student life and something that matters a lot to them. So what will you do to help facilitate that? After that, nearly half of students are involved in some sort of paid work, and that's obviously something that's going to affect them, affect the amount of money they have, the amount of time they have to study and to get involved in the union. So how are you going to support them with that? Followed by that, family commitments and looking after the homes, voluntary work, and as you can see after that is caring for a child or a family member. Now again, think about this intelligently. It may only be sort of a small number who are carers, but again, that's going to be a big effect on their life and a big effect on how much time they can give to getting engaged in the union. So what are you going to do to support them? The next survey that I'm going to show you, the last couple of bits of data, are from the Vote for Hope survey, which was all about student voting habits, but has some interesting information. First one, which may be of interest to those of you running for president as our lead political voice, is about students' voting intentions. As you can see, while a lot of students do intend to vote in the general election, very few intend to vote in local council elections or in the European Parliament. Now, the City Council probably has a lot of the time a much more direct effect on students' lives. After all, they deal with our roads, local transport, bins, antisocial behaviour, all sorts of stuff like that. So how will we get students more involved in that? And it's also interesting that only 20% of students are intending to vote in the European Parliament elections. But again, these have a big effect, and particularly here in the Northwest, we're represented by the BNP's very own Nick Griffin, so I'd hope that's something students care about. And finally, as you can see, about a third of students are saying they don't intend to vote at all, which is something you may think is very worrying and something we should do something about. So how will you get students more involved in having their voice heard in the democratic process? And the final graph I want to show you, the wording of this is actually taken from the YouGov poll. YouGov is probably the most respected and generally the most accurate polling organisation in the UK, to my knowledge. So we asked them, which of the following are the most important issues facing you, and asked every student to pick their top 3 issues. As you can see, by far and away, at the bottom there is education. Now, think about this one again. It may be tempting at first to think that's just about higher education and the raising of tuition fees and cuts in higher education and such like. But also think about what else education is. We are a big teacher training and education training institution. And I imagine a lot of our students are concerned about the changes in education policy and schools and how that's going to affect them. So what will you do about that? The next two, health and perhaps the changes to the NHS are part of that, and the economy, which I think is something that's on everybody's minds given what we've been through for a while. If you go up to the top of the graph there's an orange one which is pensions, and it's not entirely surprising when most of our students are quite young that they're not entirely thinking about pensions. And Europe is by far and away the smallest amount there. So there's some interesting things in there that may be part of what you want to talk about in your manifesto. Now that's the end really of this training. In the main session we did have a chance for questions here. Now obviously you can't ask me any questions here, I'm only being recorded, but if you do wish to direct any questions about the elections to us, there's 2 people you can speak to. The first is the Deputy Returning Officer, Caroline Bates, and you can reach her on the email address unionmanager@hope.ac.uk. That's unionmanager@hope.ac.uk. Or you can contact myself, Ben Ramsdale, And my email address is pres, which is PRES @hope.ac.uk. That's pres @hope.ac.uk. And if you email us any questions about the elections, or maybe pop into the office to see us, we'll be more than happy to support you and help you in any way to get registered and get involved in the process. So I hope this session and this video has given you a bit more information about the elections and helped you to make your mind up. And I really do hope you'll consider standing. Having run in quite a few of the elections myself, and having been both a Sabbatical Officer and an NUS Delegate, I can say all of those things are incredible experiences and are definitely worth at least having a go at, because at the end of the day, if you run and don't win, you haven't particularly lost anything, and if you do win, you will have the most incredible experience of your life. So if you'd like to know any more about the elections, please go to so-elections.com. That's so-elections.com. You can see the website address at the top of the screen there, and or get in contact with the Students' Union. So thank you very much for listening to this short video, and I hope you'll consider running. Thank you.